Number 10. Parasailing away. In June 2018, Katie Malone went to Puerto Vallarta to celebrate her birthday. She decided to go parasailing, so she strapped in and braced herself for an awesome adventure high above the water. Little did she know it would be more of an adventure than she was looking for. Everything was going fine for the first few minutes. She was flying over the ocean, taking in the beautiful views. But suddenly a huge gust of wind came and Katie started flying in the other direction. She looked down at the boat that was pulling her and that she was supposed to be secured to and realized the connection line had snapped. She started flying out of control towards the city. Several people were shocked to see her soaring over the Versailles neighborhood before crashing into cable wires at an airport 2 miles or just over 3 kilometers away from where she started. She was left hanging from the cables until firefighters arrived to free her. The terrifying flight lasted about 45 minutes. The crash left her with a broken pelvis, a collapsed lung, 4 broken ribs, and a gash on the left side of her face. Number 9. Frozen Waterfall. In January 2021, during a visit to the Velichinsky waterfall in Russia, a group of 7 tourists and their guide became perilously trapped in ice after massive icicles broke off and fell from a frozen waterfall. At least 1 person was killed. 3 were pulled from the scene by quick-thinking bystanders, including a severely wounded child. 4 people were left trapped as they awaited rescue. The frozen waterfall is located among the scenic slopes of a volcano in Russia's remote Kamchatka Peninsula. It's fed by the pristine waters of a nearby melting glacier. The site is beautiful and attracts visitors all year round. During the winter, the 131-foot or 40-meter cascade of water freezes into a collection of giant icicles. It's an amazing sight, but if you get too close, shards of ice will fall, as the group of tourists learned. A government helicopter was quickly dispatched to the site along with a team of rescuers, medics, and investigators. At the time of reporting, 2 adults and the injured child had been flown to a hospital. Emergency responders worked tirelessly to dig out the remaining stranded tourists from beneath the ice. An investigation into the cause of the catastrophic collapse is still underway. Number 8. Ziplining in Honduras. Imagine marrying the love of your life and then losing them a few days after the wedding. Newlyweds 24-year-old Igal Tishman and his wife 27-year-old Sheef Falcon were enjoying their honeymoon aboard the Royal Caribbean cruise ship Allure of the Seas in July 2018. The ship made a stop on the island of Roatan in Honduras. The couple wanted to do some fun excursions while they were there and thought ziplining over the jungle would be an amazing experience. Schiff was sent down the zipline first, but somehow got stuck on the line around halfway through. Not knowing his bride was stuck, Igal took his turn. Moving at high speed, there was nothing he could do to stop himself from crashing into her. Both survived the initial crash, but sustained serious injuries, including fractured ribs. Firefighters said the husband complained he was struggling to breathe in the ambulance and was given oxygen. The next morning, rescue workers were informed that he had died in the hospital. It is unclear how exactly, but reports indicate it could have been from a brain aneurysm. Number 7. Shark attack. In March 2022, an Italian tourist died after being attacked by an 8-foot or just under 2.5-meter tiger shark in the Caribbean Sea. 56-year-old Antonio Stracciolini went swimming off La Pisanita, a popular snorkeling resort on the Colombian island of San Andreas. The shark came out of nowhere and bit into his leg, tearing off chunks of skin. Beachgoers heard Antonio screaming for help as the water around him gruesomely turned red with blood. Images circulated online show Antonio lying on his back after the attack with blood gushing from his wound. It's reported that he went into hypovolemic shock due to the amount of blood he'd lost. He died shortly after arriving at the hospital. The shark attack is said to be the first at La Pisanita. The area is full of hotels, resorts, and diving centers and is regarded as one of the best places to snorkel on the island. But now, tourists are terrified to even swim there. Would you go swimming at a beach known for shark attacks? Tell us in the comments below, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 6. Eruption on White Island. White Island is an active volcano located off New Zealand's North Island in the Bay of Plenty and is a popular place for tourists to visit. Obviously, there's always risks when it comes to visiting a volcano, but experts constantly monitor seismic activity in the area so that they can warn the public if there's any danger, which is exactly what they did in late 2019 when they had to raise the volcano's high-level alert. Sadly, multiple companies that gave tours failed to heed the warning and continued to take visitors to White Island. 2 weeks after the alert was issued, the volcano explosively erupted, spewing ash and lava rocks into the air. 22 of the 47 people who were on the island at the time were killed. 25 others were seriously injured with severe burns. Newlyweds Matthew Urey and Lauren Barham, who visited on their honeymoon cruise, described seeing nothing but pitch black as they took cover in a desperate attempt to avoid the scalding ash and smoke. Both suffered burns that left them disfigured and were placed in medically induced comas while they underwent skin grafts and reconstructive surgeries. The Ureys accused the cruise line and tour company of advertising false high safety standards and failing to prevent tragic disasters. In fact, many tourists that were on the island felt this way. Several companies and individuals are facing numerous civil lawsuits and criminal charges for their alleged responsibility in the catastrophe. Number 5. Plastic Alligator. In November 2021, 68-year-old Nahimas Chapata spent his birthday visiting an amusement park in the Philippines. While he was there, he spotted what he thought was a plastic crocodile in a pool of water. He decided it would be a cool picture, so he hopped over the fence to take a selfie with it. But he quickly learned that it wasn't plastic at all. It was a 12-foot-long or just shy of 4-meter dangerous reptile, and it was very much alive. The creature lunged at Chapata and got a hold of his arm, dragging him into the water as his family members watched helplessly. By some miracle, he managed to escape from the crocodile with his arm intact, but he was bleeding heavily. Employees rushed to the scene and wrapped handkerchiefs around his wounds before taking him to the hospital. Chapata suffered numerous bone fractures and had to get stitches on his arm and thigh. Doctors removed a 3-inch long or just shy of 8-centimeter crocodile tooth that had gotten lodged into his skin from the force of the croc's bite. Chapata's bones were severely damaged and would require multiple surgeries. His family accused the park of being responsible for the attack by failing to put up warning signs for guests to stay away from the crocodile. Number 4. Whale watching. In April 2022, a group of tourists were enjoying a beautiful day out on the waters off Mexico's west coast when their tiny boat made contact with a large marine creature. The boat went airborne, 6 people went overboard, and 1 went flying through the air before smacking back down into the water. Everyone was injured, and of those injured, 2 adults ended up in the hospital. The others, including 3 children, sustained minor injuries. Mexican authorities are investigating the bizarre accident. There are rules that require whale-watching boats to keep a safe distance from the creatures, but the boat involved in the accident was not a whale-watching vessel. Video footage suggests that the boat was traveling at a high rate of speed before hitting the creature, sending the boat high into the air. The boat is thought to have hit either a whale or a whale shark. It's unclear whether the creature was injured. Number 3. Venice Canal. In 2013, Joachim Vogel, a 50-year-old German law professor, took his wife and their 3 kids on a family trip to Venice. The Vogels, though, didn't expect to travel home with 1 less family member. Unfortunately, that's what happened after a leisurely gondola ride through the city's canals took a deadly turn. The small boat they were on collided with a water bus or vaporetto, and Vogel was crushed to death. An investigation found traces of marijuana and cocaine in the gondolier's blood, but this did not appear to be a factor in the incident. Vogel's wife claimed that the larger vessel's operator didn't even seem to notice when it hit the gondola her family was riding in and questioned the safety precautions of that boat. It took this tragic incident for officials to realize that traffic among the Venetian waterways needed stricter oversight, especially as more and more tourists clogged the canals. Aldo Rosso, a former city-appointed gondolier representative, told The Guardian he was surprised that an accident like this hadn't happened sooner. He went on to say that people do whatever they want on the canals. Less than a month after Vogel was killed, the city's mayor proposed 26 new measures to prevent more needless tragedies from happening, including increasing the police presence, drug and alcohol tests for boat handlers, and a cutback on the number of gondolas that are allowed in the crowded parts of the canal. Number 2. Rule breakers. St. Martin Princess Juliana International Airport, located on the Caribbean island, is quite famous for its low-flying planes. Thousands of tourists flock to nearby Maho Beach every year to see firsthand planes that seem to fly almost close enough to touch. But the blast from the jets can be extremely powerful and very dangerous, which is why visitors are warned against getting too close to the fence that separates the runway from the beach. People often hold on to the fence as the planes take off, but once the plane is in the air, huge gusts of winds blow down over them, lifting the people off the ground. In 2017, 57-year-old Gayleen McEwen, a tourist from New Zealand, clung to the fence with her family as a Boeing 737 took off from the airport. Like so many others, they did this despite the multiple signs on the fence advising people to keep a safe distance. As the plane passed overhead, a jet engine blast knocked Gayleen off her feet, and the gust caused her to land on her head. Paramedics desperately tried to save her, but sadly, she died from her injuries. St. Martin tourism director Rolando Bryson said in an interview with the New Zealand Herald that Gayleen's family put themselves in serious danger and regretted doing so. Number 1. Gunfire on the beach. In December 2021, tourists and beachgoers were soaking up the sun, enjoying themselves on the pristine sands of Cancun when a group of men randomly pulled up on jet skis and began firing bullets into the air. People screamed and ran for cover. Thankfully, no one was injured. Rick Labassa, who was visiting from Maine, said in an interview with NBC5 that in 31 years of vacation in Cancun, it was the first time he had ever seen an incident like this. He has a surprisingly calm attitude about the terrible ordeal and said that because he had never experienced any issues before, he wasn't too worried about it. But not everyone felt the same way he did. Tandy Gurich and Kerry Arms, tourists from Minnesota, described the moment they scrambled for safety while watching screaming, panicked, and crying visitors do the same. Police managed to find and seize the jet skis, but the criminals that fired the shots were never captured. The disturbing incident came amid an observable uprise in violence along Mexico's resort-lined Caribbean coast, which had gotten bad enough for the military to be called in to help monitor the area. Just weeks before this happened, members of a drug gang had stormed the nearby beach at Puerto Morelos and opened fire outside luxury hotels, killing 2 rival gang members. Unfortunately, these life-threatening situations are becoming more and more frequent as cartels fight for control over the area's profitable drug trade. The violence is tarnishing the region's reputation for peace and safety, which is what draws so many tourists there in the first place. Thanks for watching. What's the craziest experience you've had as a tourist? Tell us all about it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.